Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes, from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tennesha Wood. I have my mom, Sonia, with me. So today we're just going to get into some frequent dating topics or questions that often come up on the show. She's also going to talk a little bit about how she initially met my dad, and then we're going to take a listener question. So let's just get right into it. First question. What would you say are the top things that women should be mindful of in a relationship? Like, what should they be making sure that they're looking out for, or I don't want to say monitoring, but if it's in like the early stages of a relationship, what are the things that you'd say, keep an eye on this?
Honesty is one of the things. So honesty is number one, because most time when a person is not honest, you're having another relationship or doing something. So check on the little small lies that he might say something. It might simple, but if he's coming up with small things and small excuses, for me, those are red flags. Like little lies, small things, can't do it, can't be bothered. When a person is in love with you, believe me, when somebody in love with you, nothing bothers them. It's easy. Things comes easier when you're in love with somebody. That person feels sick. I feel like, I can run out to the store and get you something. That affection is there. If your shoulder hurt and you say, oh my God, I'm in such pain. And if you have to tell the person, can you come and rub my shoulder for me? Those are red flags. This guy is really not into you. But if your shoulder hurt and it comes over, because the person, if in love with you, should almost feel the same pain you're feeling. Mm-hmm. And if it's not there, you're going to see it, or you're going to feel it. And in the long run, that person going to be there for you in the long run. So if they're not there now, why would you want to carry it on?
So what should a woman do if she's single and trying to meet a man?
Know what you're looking for. That's what I see. Because for me personally, I look for somebody who can give me love, emotional support. And by saying that, I mean that I admire somebody from a distance sometimes. I see how they treat others. And for me, that's important. So I never go out and say, well, the guy has to have X amount of dollars or have to be rich. Or I think someone can grow with you. So sometimes we make the mistake looking for money. Money doesn't bring love. So for me, I look at the person. For instance, when I met your dad, there's certain things that was attracted to me that he doesn't even know.
Like what?
So he was driving, passing the house, and he was driving slower than most people.
That's Dad.
He was playing softer music than most people. And so, believe it or not, I was attracted to that because in my mind, I feel like this is a very easygoing person. Within that, I see that he was less aggressive than most people. So, strange enough, I didn't speak to him, but I was drawn to that. So, in my mind, I said, gosh, I just love this guy, and I haven't even met this guy.
Wait, you loved Dad before you met him?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So, okay, to explain it to people, you guys grew up in kind of a smaller town in Jamaica.
Yes.
And so it was the type of place where when somebody drove by, you generally knew who it was.
Yes.
You were like, oh, that's such and such, because you recognized their car or you know their family.
Yes.
And you had a really big family. Like you had 7 brothers and sisters.
And
so did Dad.
Yeah.
Dad has 9 brothers and sisters, right? So you
Exactly.
both came from big families. So you knew of them.
Yes.
But you hadn't necessarily met or interacted with him.
No,
Okay.
I haven't. So
Okay.
at the time, I'm like, there's something about this guy, the way he was slow, he wasn't rushy. And it's strange to think that somebody could drawn to that. But in my young 19 years, at that time I was 19, I'm like, gosh, I think I like that about this guy. Although I have met several guys at the time who was chasing me.
Because you were kind of a hot girl.
Yes, I would call myself fairly attractive.
You were probably like the pretty sister, if I had to assume.
That's what they say.
How did you guys end up connecting?
Here I'm in love with someone that he doesn't even know. So my parents had a store at the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I wish he would just stop by. And so, strange enough, I was trying to attract him somewhat. So we have this little balcony where we had some flowers on top of the balcony. So I went out there to water the flowers. So
when you saw him driving by?
Yes, because he was driving. He was driving slow enough, wherein I think that he would see me because he's not rushing, you know. So I'm like, okay. So I went out there because he drives so slow, and the timing was pretty much almost the same timing, so you could see him or you could have an idea of when he was coming by. So. I went out
Dad is very like he does the same things at the same times every day.
Yes.
Like
so
he's very routine.
So you would say, okay, 4:00, 4:10, he would be coming, and because he drives so slow, he would give you an opportunity.
Okay, so you were watering the flowers and waiting for him to drive by around 4 to 4:10.
So here he comes along, and I was up on the balcony watering the flowers, and then he looked up, and which I was expecting that anyways, because that's what I was looking for. So finally he said, "Aren't you scared you fall off?" You know? And then I said, "No, I'm not scared at all." And then he stopped by the store, and then he starts stopping by. It's just so strange because that's what I wanted, and it happened. Mm. And so he starts stopping by and start buying a beer, and every evening now he starts stopping by, and I would have a pop, and we would talk together. And, you know, at the time, I'd never dated before. Mm-hmm. So I would talk for a while, and then I had to go to school in Montego Bay. But then we start communicate a while. But the strange thing about him, which was different, I haven't dated anybody. I mean, quite a few guys were chasing me, but I haven't dated anyone, and I was not interested in those guys who were chasing me. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, if you're not interested in a person, don't care how somebody chase you, and don't care how, for me personally,
right,
how much money they have or how handsome they are.
Like no grand gesture can do it once you already don't feel like that.
Yes.
You know what's funny? I have a friend. I remember one day she called me. I won't put this friend on blast, but she called me one day, and this guy that really liked her, they'd been out a couple times, but she wasn't really interested. He sent her some flowers to work. She calls me at work and she's like, "Ugh, can you believe he just sent flowers to my job? Like, how rude." Like, she was almost disgusted by it. Yeah. And I said to her, you know, if it was such and such, a guy that she actually liked, we would be having a completely different conversation about the same gesture. You'd be like, "Girl, guess what he did?" So it's not what a person does or doesn't do. It's whether you actually like them or not.
Exactly. Because prior to him, I had this one guy was chasing me up and down. Like, I was staying with my sister at the time, going to school in Montego Bay, and he would come by the house every single day. And I told him straight up, I said, "I'm not interested." And he couldn't seem to get the message. So finally, my brother came by the house because I didn't have a boyfriend, and I said, "Here is my boyfriend." I told him I have a boyfriend, and he goes, "Oh, that's a lie. That's your brother." So there's nothing I could say to get rid of this guy. Mm-hmm. And
aren't you glad cell phones weren't there back then? Because he would have been blowing you up.
People thought maybe he was my boyfriend because he was coming there every day. Mm-hmm. And I had no desire, no interest, nothing. Mm-hmm. But he was still coming. finally, when I met your dad.
So at this point, you had left to go to school in Montego Bay.
Yes.
Dad was still in Hillsbrook, where you guys grew up?
Yes.
Okay. And how long was it in between when you actually saw him again?
Oh, I was going home every weekend now.
Oh, I see.
Yes, I was seeing him every weekend. So he used to come in Montego Bay for some meetings, weekly meetings, I think every Friday. So I used to actually go home now after about several months with him on Fridays back to where we're from.
Got it.
I liked him.
Dad.
Just, I don't know, as I told you.
So Dad's kind of a shy person. Like, did he express liking you, or was he just around a lot? Because I don't know. I can't see Dad just being super direct in that way. He might do nice things, but I don't see him necessarily being that direct in that way.
The first week that he had picked me up from Montego Bay, the first weekend, to go back to the country where we're from, we drove, and I was questioning myself at one point, like, I need somebody not as aggressive, as talkative as I am.
Right.
But I'm not sure I need someone this quiet either.
Right. Because Dad's super chill.
Because we drove from Montego Bay, and I decided the first week I did all the talking. The second week I said...
And nothing's changed.
The second week I said to myself, I'm not going to say much just to see if this guy would carry out a conversation without me saying anything. And so half of the journey, I didn't say much.
How long is this ride?
This is about a 45 minutes drive. Maybe for him it was an hour. And so we drove half of the journey, and I decided, you know what, I'm not going to say much to him. I'm just going to chill just the way. And he didn't say much. So the next weekend, I say to him, maybe you're not for me. Maybe you're not the type of guy I'm looking for. I thought it was, but... But it didn't seem to me like what I saw was really what I wanted. And then he said, oh, no, it's just that I'm just quiet. I'm not just that talkative person. And I said, I don't know if you really like me or you don't like me. I don't know what to use to judge it at this point. And he said, well, I really like you. But I said, I haven't seen any action to show that you really like me. You know? So then...
I'm picking you up every weekend and taking you all the way back home.
Yeah, but he wouldn't carry out a conversation. And I'm a talkative person. He would answer the questions.
Right.
But he wouldn't engage, initiate it, I should say.
Right.
So at one point, it got a little bit boring, in a sense. But because I did love him, it was almost like I said it, but I didn't want to. But
you wanted him to somehow object to that in some way.
Yes. So then he did make some changes, like he started taking me out, like we would go to a little place and to the beach. And I said I've never dated a guy before, but I was expecting a little more, and I told him that. And he started doing it. And then he said to me, all the women that he had dated, he had never done anything like that for them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never dated, but I'm wondering, these women, what did they want from a man?
So he'd never taken them out on dates or anything?
No. He said he has never done that. And it was strange to me. Even though I have never dated, I kind of know what I wanted. And at my 19, I felt
And Dad's a little older than you. So he's 20, he was 5-6 years older?
Yeah, yes. So I was expecting that. What kind of woman wouldn't want a little more, you know?
Right.
So then we go out, do things, and he was kind of sad when I told him that I was going to break it off.
How long into you guys dating did you say this, that you were going to break it off?
I think 3 months into dating. Actually, this might sound strange. I dated him, but I was scared to sleep with him, to get physical with him, because I've never been physical with anybody. So at a point, I thought, well, it's not going to go anywhere because my whole body was scared to sleep with anybody. So I feel in my mind that he was going to go away because I didn't want to.
Right.
And when I did get physical with him, I felt like I didn't want to see him anymore, I don't know if anyone had ever had that experience. For me, it felt like something was taken away from me that I couldn't replace, and I didn't want to see him. It's almost like I dislike him. So I told him that. I said, I'm done with you. I'm not interested. It's over. Mm-hmm. And he said, why? And I said, just don't come back. I don't want to see you. And he was like, why? And I told him that I just have this feeling like something that I was preserving had taken away. He kind of made me feel comfortable about it, but right. I wanted to end the relationship right there and then. I didn't want to carry it on.
But I think that's because you're like a control freak, sort of.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I think you sort of like to be in control of how everything flows in your life, and maybe that made you feel somewhat out of control.
I don't know what it is. I just felt like, because in my mind, I was going to string him on for like years. Mm-hmm. You know. But after we talked through that and we get along through that, and he ended up, when Christmas was coming, and he said to me, because he was telling me that he has never given anyone any gifts or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But that Christmas, he gave me his whole paycheck. Oh.
Wait, he just literally came to you with the check and was like, here you go?
Yeah, he literally came.
These men need to take notes nowadays. This is what you give for a gift. You give a whole paycheck.
He gave me his whole paycheck. He changed his whole paycheck and he had given it to me. Mm-hmm. Went to the bank, changed his paycheck, give me a whole paycheck. At that time, I think it was $900 at the time. But it was his whole paycheck he had given to me. And then I just get to know him a little bit better. Not my mom so much, but my dad. Mm-hmm. Didn't seem to like him.
Does your dad really like a lot of people, though?
And and I talk to other people, and it says it's like having your daughter, or you know, it's almost like no one is good enough.
And your dad, Bob's, as we affectionately call him, was very like, he was kind of a fussy person, right? Yeah. Like he wasn't necessarily the easygoing type. So he was the type of person that's like, no, I don't like this. I don't like that. Like very fussy and not the chill sort of person that dad was. But what was his reason for not liking him? Did he give you a reason?
I don't know the reason. Prior to meeting your dad, I was walking through the market with my sister. Mm-hmm. And there was this...
Auntie Mary?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, there's a car... It was a Buick, was chasing me around, and the guy, I didn't see, I wasn't paying attention. But she said to me, the guy kept looking at you. And I didn't look. And she said, this guy literally just, and then she told me, he parked the car because you were getting out of his sight, and he's chasing us behind us.
Yo, Mom, you had some people that were really like stalking. Like that's like, to me, if there was a guy following me in his car, I'd probably be like, I'm calling the police because this is weird.
Well, back in the days, it wasn't that weird. You know, men would do stuff like that. And so she said that to me, and I'm like, I didn't pay it any attention. Because I'm so used to men doing that to me that it wasn't any different for me. So then the guy came out and he introduced himself to us. And by then, we were at the market, so we had to struggle with the market produce to take home. So finally, the guy said to us that he will take us home. So I look at it was a nice thing because we get a ride to take home the stuff.
So you weren't scared at all of like, what if this is like a random kidnapper who wants to stab me?
No.
You know?
You see, I was a good judgment of character then.
Well, you've always been. But.
And I could tell, no. And back then, you have to look at it from that perspective. Mm-hmm. So then he brought us home and then introduced himself, and he was telling me how much he liked me, and if we could go out on a date. I said, no, I'm not interested. But then my sister, offered him food and this and that, and he kept coming several evenings, although I told him that we could go to the movie. If we want to go to the movie, we could, but not by myself, with my sister. Mm. And for some reason, he was a dental doctor. He was handsome. And I was not feeling this guy, like something in my mind. So I told him straight up, I said, I'm not ready to date yet, and so I'm not interested. My sister was saying to me at the time, was like, gosh, he's handsome. He's a doctor, everything going for him. What are you looking for? And I said, when I see it, I'll know it. This is not what I'm looking for. And the flip side, I don't know if it's just a true story. So I was coming from school with some of my girlfriends. And when we reached to that doctor's office.
The dentist guy.
The dentist guy. Mm-hmm. One of the girls said to me, you see this doctor here? He's from Canada. He's a dental doctor. And do you know that he gave his reception AIDS? Oh
my gosh.
Yes. And I'm like, I didn't even, because the stigma that comes with AIDS, I didn't want to say that even I know him.
Right.
Or so, because maybe by just saying that, they might thinking, oh, maybe she had slept with, what I'm saying?
Right. Especially at the time.
At the time. So I didn't even say to her, I even know this guy and this guy was chasing me. I didn't say a thing to her. But in my mind, I'm thinking, God is so good. Because he has everything seem to be going for him, right?
Right.
But I wasn't feeling the guy. It just feel like it wasn't right. And so I was looking for somebody mellow, not too out there.
Right.
So I was judging the person that I wanted because in my mind, all those things were in the back of my head, dating anybody else.
Right.
And so it was very, very, they could chase me up the street from here until the end of, I wasn't interested. Mm. But him, because if I see that his schedule was on time, I thought maybe this guy probably decent enough. So
what you were kind of basically saying is, how I interpret it anyway, that sort of the men that were chasing you, they weren't your type because then you probably figured, well, they're probably around here chasing everybody.
Exactly.
And though I don't want to necessarily chase a man, I kind of want somebody that's very low key enough to where if they notice I'm noticing them, then not chase you. Just,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like take a hint. But yeah, that does tend to be the case where it's like, if somebody's chasing somebody so hard, you're probably not the only person they're chasing that hard.
Exactly. So I look at it that way. Like, if you're chasing me that much, you must be chasing several. In my mind, what comes across, it was womanizer.
Right.
And I just feel like it wasn't going to be a relationship. It was more of a kind of a use stuff.
Right.
And so I didn't feel it and I didn't want it.
Right.
So when I saw this guy now was very low-key, I know where he was from, I kind of know his background, I could almost know something about him. On the others, I wouldn't know. And I feel like I didn't want to be part of a woman fighting for men. That wasn't in my thing at all. I wasn't going to fight for anybody.
Right.
And so I decided that those person I didn't want to get involved with. Mm. So I was hoping that this guy would be the right guy. So when I went and watered the flowers and he actually took the bait.
And the rest is history. Do you want to do a listener question?
Sure. This
one is from Betty.
Mm-hmm.
Betty says, I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years and we spend almost every day together. We bonded over our mutual love of travel, and so far we've traveled to 8 countries together. Mm-hmm. I know this might be a silly complaint, especially because things are great otherwise, but he never posts any pics of me on Instagram or Facebook. He's very active on social media and posts pics of his friends and other people when he's out with them, but never of me. I post pics of him and tag him, but his tagged photos are not visible. It's been bothering me for almost the entire time we've been dating, but I feel like bringing it up to him might stir issues over something as silly as Instagram. Should I bring this up?
Are they living together?
That part I don't know. So she's saying basically they've been together for 2 years. They travel to all these places together. He's really active on social media, so he does post. He just never posts any of their pictures. And she tags him in pictures, but he has his profile set up where you can hide your tagged pictures. So for example, if I change the setting on my profile and you tag me in a photo, I could make it so that no one can see those photos when you tag me or if anybody tags me.
It seems to me like...
I think it sounds like
he's hiding something.
He's hiding
her, in a sense.
Right.
So in my opinion, and that in that case, he might have another relationship.
That's what I think.
That he's hiding her and that the other person can see her, maybe they both can see each other.
Right.
And
especially if it's somebody that he's active on social media. Because there are some people that I'm just like, they're just never on there. They never post anything. They don't care.
That's the question I was going to ask. But she stated that he's active on social media.
Right.
So my opinion, I think he has another affair going on.
Plus, like, for me, it's like, if you're going to post all these things, why aren't you proud of me? I'd be like, you seem to be proud when you're out with your friends, proud when you're on vacation, proud doing this, but you're not proud enough of me to display me to the world. Like, you need to be able to show me off.
And another thing, if they had traveled so much, they must have been taking pictures together.
Exactly.
The fact that those pictures wouldn't be okay for him to show to his friends on social media, it speaks volume to me. And
you know what would be another question of mine? Has she actually met any of his friends or of the people that he's close with?
Yes, that's another thing. Because maybe he has a total different circle than what she's aware of. And I feel like he's hiding her. I won't say hiding something, but he's hiding her. Mm-hmm. And she might think that she's the only one, but based on this discreetness there, it tells me that he's hiding something.
Well, she said they spent a lot of time together and spent almost every day together.
Yes, they spend every day together, but men can be tricky too. You're not going to be 24/7. A lot of women, when they want something or feel something, they can say, "Oh, he's around me all the time,"
making excuses.
Yes, and probably get up, go to work, 12 hours out of that or 15 hours after that, not around. And so it's easy to hide it because it seems like I'm so much overwhelmed with work. So when he's probably only working 6, it can look like he's working 12.
Right.
So it can be hidden inside there because that's what he wants it to make it look like it's all about her.
And also, too, she wants to know if she should bring it up. I think she should have brought it up 2 years ago.
Well, again, put it this way. She's not in an open relationship. If she thinks that is such a difficult thing to bring up, it tells me that she is not comfortable in her relationship with this guy.
Especially after 2 years.
Yeah, if you're in a relationship for 2 years and you feel like you can say something as simple as, "Why am I not on your social media?" You're not comfortable in that relationship either.
But you know why she might not be comfortable saying it?
Why?
Because she's waited 2 years. And now it seems like this is fine with her. This is just the way she likes it or wants it, because she's let 2 years go by, all these travels. What did she say? They traveled to 8 countries. She's let it all happen. And now 2 years later, she's like, oh, now I have a problem.
And hold
on. It's like her fault. Not her fault that he's not posting her, but it's her fault because it's like, well, when you first started to notice this long before 2 years.
And again, Tennesha, they can travel 8 other countries. You can travel any countries. You don't know any other woman in that country or any other body. So you can travel and hug up, dance, whatever. But when you're in your town, is he doing the same thing in the town?
Right.
So that's the question I have. Does he show the same affection when he traveled with you some other country or is in the same town?
Right. So that's probably why he wants to travel so much.
Exactly. So
you know what? Let's go to Africa. I don't know anybody there.
So for me, she would have to answer that question for herself. Is he showing me the same affection when he's around in town as he's showing me when we're in another country? It's just strike me that a simple thing as that she couldn't bring up. So she's not so comfortable in the relationship herself.
Well, Mom, thank you for sharing your story and imparting all your wisdom today. I am sure that you will be back to share the rest of the story and what happened after you guys got married and had a family, etc. So we'll look forward to hearing from you on a future episode. But until then, please reach out to me at Tennesha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and let me know what you think of today's show. And until next time, wish me love.
Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.